What looked like a brief unscripted moment during a social media broadcast was actually a devastating metaphor for an entire global brand in freefall. A simple glance at a strand of pearls, accompanied by a heavy, deliberate hint about an upcoming beachside ceremony in Malibu, exposed a reality that no high-budget public relations firm could ever scrub away. This is the story of an empire built on the grandest illusions of royal dignity, quietly collapsing into the hyper-monetized, highly visible desperation of Hollywood's lower tiers. What was presented as an innocent gesture of love was, in truth, the first public ripple of a deeply calculated survival strategy. By the end of this video, you will understand the hidden psychological mechanics driving Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's latest public maneuvers. We will dissect why a proposed vow renewal is not a celebration of enduring love, but a highly strategic commercial plot designed to reverse a string of devastating professional failures. We will explore how the couple has shifted from the untouchable heights of the British monarchy into a pattern of public behavior that mirrors reality television stars, why their aggressive battle over state-funded security is a desperate attempt to retain the optics of royal rank, and what this sudden structural shift means for the future of their marriage and their relationship with the crown. To truly comprehend the depth of this current desperation, we must first remember the staggering heights from which they fell. Less than a decade ago, the global narrative surrounding this couple was one of absolute invincibility. Their wedding at St. George's Chapel was a masterclass in global soft power, watched by hundreds of millions and backed by the centuries-old institutional credibility of the British crown. They possessed a rare, intoxicating currency, the mystique of royalty combined with the modern appeal of global humanitarianism. When they famously made the decision to step away from their roles as working royals, the initial perception in Hollywood was that they would become the ultimate global elite, operating in an entirely new stratosphere of wealth and influence. They signed massive historic development deals, moved into a sprawling estate in California, and positioned themselves as modern thought leaders who were far too grand for the traditional constraints of the palace. They believed they could leave the monarchy behind while retaining the ultimate prize, an untouchable, globally recognized aura of royal prestige. But the reality of operating in the ruthless machinery of the entertainment industry is cold, data-driven, and entirely unforgiving. Over time, the grand illusions began to crack under the weight of financial necessity and a changing public appetite. The multi-million-dollar production deals that once looked like lifetime guarantees began to dissolve or stagnate. In Hollywood, capital demands constant returns, and a brand built entirely on the public airings of familial grievances has a remarkably brief shelf life. As the initial curiosity waned, the public began to witness a subtle but unmistakable shift in their strategy. The high-minded humanitarian lectures were increasingly replaced by a quieter, far more revealing form of commercial survival. Industry insiders began to notice the telltale signs of a brand scrambling to maintain its overhead, transitioning from elite global creators to individuals trapped in the exhausting cycle of modern influencer culture. The ultimate tragedy of their departure from the royal family was not that they lost their institutional funding, but that they gradually traded the timeless, priceless dignity of the crown for the fleeting transactional metrics of social media engagement. The first major public rupture of this new era came not from a dramatic press release, but from a seemingly minor interaction that careful observers immediately recognized as a calculated public relations deployment. During a promotional appearance, Meghan was seen handling a strand of pearls presented by young supporters. It was a brief moment, but her response was telling. She cleared her throat, looked directly toward the camera, and openly suggested that she and Harry might use them to renew their wedding vows on a beach in Malibu. To the casual viewer, it sounded like a touching, spontaneous romantic sentiment. But to veteran public relations analysts and industry insiders, it was a glaring, unmistakable signal of a new commercial plot. A beachside vow renewal in Malibu, far from the historical weight of Windsor, serves a very specific, highly strategic function in the modern celebrity playbook. It is a tried-and-true mechanism used by high-profile figures when they desperately need to dominate the news cycle in a positive light, project an image of domestic stability amidst rumors of marital friction, and most importantly, generate massive amounts of fast capital. The blueprint for a Malibu vow renewal is not drawn from royal history, it is drawn directly from the commercial playbook of reality television icons like Kim Kardashian. It is an event designed to be packaged, sliced, and sold to the highest bidding media outlets, complete with exclusive magazine spreads, heavily managed photo packages, and lucrative corporate sponsorships. What makes this shift so devastatingly revealing is the sheer moral contradiction it exposes to the public. For years, the core narrative pushed by the couple was a fierce, uncompromising demand for absolute privacy. They filed lawsuits, condemned the intrusion of the press, and cited the safety of their children as the primary reason for their self-imposed exile. Yet the blueprint for this proposed Malibu ceremony requires the exact opposite. To monetize a vow renewal, effectively, you must invite the cameras in, you must sell the intimate moments, orchestrate the visual narratives, and inevitably involve your children as props in a highly public spectacle, casting them as flower girls and ring bearers to maximize the commercial value of the photographs. This is where the narrative of privacy completely fractures under the weight of commercial desperation. At the exact same time, reports began to surface that Meghan was exploring the world of digital affiliate marketing, subtly monetizing her personal fashion choices during public appearances. To see a woman who once stood on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, operating within the sphere of digital affiliate links, earning commissions on wardrobe items represents a staggering shift in status. It is a tactic commonly associated with entry-level digital influencers, a reality that stands in brutal contrast to the elegant institutional power of Catherine, Princess of Wales, who was recently granted the official authority to bestow the royal seal of approval on luxury heritage brands. While the palace uses its influence to elevate national economies and historic fashion houses, the Malibu strategy appears entirely focused on immediate individual financial extraction. But the most explosive contradiction was yet to come, and it is here where the story takes its darkest, most volatile turn. While plans were quietly being laid for a highly publicized, commercially sponsored lifestyle in California, an aggressive parallel battle was being waged across the Atlantic. Prince Harry launched a furious, high-stakes legal campaign against the British government, demanding the immediate restoration of his automatic, state-funded armed police protection whenever he steps foot on British soil. His legal team argued that the current threat level against his family is entirely indefensible, issuing a stark ultimatum that Meghan and his children will never return to the United Kingdom unless they are granted full round-the-clock state security. But the palace and the British establishment see this move for what it truly is: a desperate, highly calculated attempt to weaponize safety as a status symbol. If Harry restores his full royal security, it means he can arrive at Heathrow at any moment, trigger a statutory obligation for armed bodyguards, and essentially force the British taxpayer to finance his global public relations tours. The nightmare scenario for the Crown is clear: a private citizen using state-funded armed guards to stage competing, commercialized royal events right down the street from the monarch. This has created a bitter, unresolved point of no return. A close friend of the prince recently leaked a chilling warning to the press, stating that if the government does not comply, the entire situation will inevitably end in absolute tears. The trap is now set, the lines are drawn, and the survival of the entire Montecito empire hinges on a single high-stakes gamble. This high-stakes gamble over state-funded security is fundamentally a battle for identity. When you strip away the legal jargon and the public posturing, the core psychological truth emerges. Harry is fighting for police escorts not because he is in unprecedented danger compared to other global figures, but because those flashing lights and armed motorcades are the last tangible proof of his royal relevance. Without them, he is forced to confront the terrifying reality that he is no longer an international statesman. He is simply a private citizen living in a California mansion, desperately trying to stretch his remaining cultural capital. The palace understands this perfectly. To grant him this security would be to subsidize his commercial ventures with the prestige of the crown. The refusal is not an act of malice. It is a cold institutional boundary. It is the British establishment finally holding up a mirror to the Sussexes and forcing them to look at the reality of the choice they made. As the doors of the palace firmly close, the isolation in Montecito grows increasingly pronounced. The A-list Hollywood support that was once assumed to be an impenetrable shield has quietly evaporated. True power in the entertainment industry is drawn to momentum, and it flees from liability. The elite circles of Los Angeles do not operate on sympathy. They operate on transactional value. When the multi-million-dollar deals failed to produce universally acclaimed content, and the constant airing of family grievances began to feel exhausting rather than revolutionary, the highest tiers of Hollywood silently distanced themselves. The couple found themselves operating in a vacuum, forced to pivot toward strategies they once would have considered far beneath them. This is the tragic irony of their grand departure. They walked away from the most exclusive, historically significant institution on the planet to avoid the constraints of duty, only to find themselves constrained by the far more ruthless demands of commercial relevance. This descent into the mechanics of lower-tier celebrity is what makes the Malibu vow renewal rumor so devastatingly credible. When you lack the institutional backing to command global attention, you have to manufacture it. You have to throw ideas against the wall and hope the media cycle catches one. A vow renewal is the ultimate manufactured milestone. It is a tacit admission that the natural momentum of their careers has stalled, and they must now rely on their personal relationship as their primary commercial product. But monetizing your marriage comes at a profound psychological cost. It blurs the line between private affection and public performance, turning family members into castmates and genuine emotions into marketable content. The majority of high-profile, heavily publicized vow renewals in the celebrity ecosystem end in divorce, precisely because the event is rarely born of quiet marital strength. It is usually a spectacular public bandage applied to a private crisis. The emotional contrast to this modern desperation will soon be broadcast globally, creating an inevitable and deeply unflattering comparison. As the anniversary of Princess Diana's death approaches the release of previously unheard, unedited audio tapes from her secret interviews is set to captivate the world once again. For decades, Prince Harry has meticulously tried to align his wife's image with his mother's legacy, framing Meghan as the modern incarnation of Diana, a woman hunted by the establishment and the press. He has weaponized his mother's memory to validate his own narrative. But when the public hears Diana's actual voice on these new tapes, the illusion will likely shatter. Diana's power lay in her raw, undeniable authenticity. Her vulnerability was never a calculated product launch. When people hear her unvarnished truth, they will instantly recognize the difference between a woman genuinely fighting for her survival within the royal cage and a couple living in California, artificially orchestrating paparazzi moments and affiliate links to maintain a lifestyle they can barely afford. This is the ultimate tragedy of the Sussex narrative. It is a story of catastrophic miscalculation. They believed they were bigger than the institution that created them. They assumed that the global adoration directed at them was a tribute to their personal brilliance, failing to realize that it was merely a reflection of the crown's enduring majesty. Now permanently estranged from the family that gave them their power, and struggling to find a legitimate foothold in an industry that only respects success, they are left to navigate a very lonely reality. The rift with King Charles and Prince William is no longer just a temporary family dispute. It has solidified into an unbridgeable chasm. Trust has been entirely severed. You cannot demand the privileges of royalty while simultaneously attempting to dismantle its foundations. What we are witnessing is not a triumphant reinvention, but a slow, agonizing commercial descent. The untouched glasses at VIP tables, the carefully planted hints about beachside ceremonies, the desperate legal battles for the optics of importance, all of these are subtle, devastating indicators of an empire running on fumes. The story of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle resonates so deeply because it serves as a modern morality tale about ego, privilege, and the illusion of power. They traded a lifetime of profound historical significance for the fleeting transactional applause of the digital age. And as they prepare to stage their love on a beach in Malibu for the highest bidder, they must finally accept the cold truth. They did not escape the royal fishbowl. They simply traded it for a much cheaper, far more unforgiving stage. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the psychological and PR mechanics behind the headlines. If you appreciate forensic analytical storytelling that looks beyond the tabloids, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.